What is going on, guys? The Techie Gamer here, and this is, I guess I could consider this a first video for this newly set out channel. I guess I don't really consider the contest entry as a first video, but regardless of that, we're doing a build guide. Oh, but it's not just any build. Oh no, it's the build. Nah, but seriously, I would probably consider this to be the best build I have ever made. But then again, this is the only build that I made for you guys, so you get the point. So for this build, we're going to be including Skylake, the new architecture for CPUs, and of course, the legendary GTX 980 Ti. This build, I will admit, is confusing. Well, for one, this build is a price range instead of kind of like this budget. And essentially what that price range is it's a range from the very core of components, such as the CPU, GPU, motherboard, storage, etc., without the components that you may or may not already have, such as monitor, case, optical drive, and operating system, all the way up to components with the extras, such as the monitor, case, optical. Yeah, you get the point. So this price range varies from $1,400, or to be more precise, $1,350, all the way up to $1,800, or again, to be more precise, $1,770. $1,770, which includes the mail-in rebates that are going on in the moment. So if you take away the mail-in rebates, you may be into the 1800s range, or if you're going for the very minimum, you may be in like just over the 1400s. Now keep in mind that these prices may vary time to times, and since Christmas and Black Friday are almost upon us, the price will most likely drop, and that might be a perfect time to shop for these components. Also, I forgot to mention the second part of this kind of unusual build. For those who really desire an i7 with hyperthreading and that outperforms the i5 for the trade-off of Skylake, as if I went to the i7 6700K for the Skylake, it would just add another $100 to this build, which exceeds the budget in this video. So as always, I will be discussing this in another video, and in this video I'll just be discussing what you guys came here to see, and that's the Skylake part. So to begin with, for the CPU, I went with the i5 6600K at $252. Yeah, there isn't that much to say about this because there's really only two processors to pick from, and that's the i5 6600K or the i7 6700K. And yeah, it was $100 more for the i7, so I think i5 is probably the best for this situation. Next, we have the CPU cooler. I went with the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo 82.9 CFM sleeve bearing cooler. Okay, again, this was a very easy choice. It's only $22 at the moment, and it's probably one of, if not the best on the market. You'll probably see this on pretty much every one of my builds because it's this good. It has a noise level from 9 to 36 decibels and a fan RPM of 600 to 2000 RPM. One thing that I didn't actually know about this until just recently is that it apparently comes with thermal paste, according to some people, which is always a good thing, especially if you don't want to waste a couple dollars buying thermal paste. For the motherboard, I went with the Asus Z170A ATX LGA 1151 motherboard. This motherboard is priced at $150 at the moment, and it includes SLI and Crossfire support if you want to add a 980 Ti in the future, or if you decide to crossfire with AMD, and it even has RAID support. It also has 4 SATA 6GB per second and 1 SATA Express, as well as it has onboard USB 3 headers. The max memory stands up at 64 gigabytes, so it has a lot of upgradability for memory in the future. As for amount of memory slots, it has 4 288-pin DIMMs. Now, because it is a Z170, it's great for overclocking, which, come on people, if you didn't have a Z170 or H170, what is the point in having a K-based CPU if you're not going to overclock? Speaking of RAM, I went with the crucial dual-channel 16GB of DDR4 2133 memory for $88. for you editors out there. And if you so desired, for 8 gigabytes for you casual gamers, and yes, if you are just gaming, you don't do a lot of editing and other stuff, you're going to want to go with 8 gigabytes a second. 16 gigabytes is just, you're not going to pretty much use all of that. For 8 gigabytes, you're going to want to go with the Crucial Ballistic Sport dual channel 8 gigabytes of DDR4 2400 memory, and it's only for $54. It's probably not that much of a surprise for you guys, considering that when it comes to RAM, especially for gaming, you're going to want to go for cheap RAM. But make sure that it is from a brand that you know and trust. As for specs, the 8 gigabytes has no ECC. I keep thinking that I say CCC. ECC. Okay, it's 2 C's. Oh my god. Anyways, it's not registered, and it does have heat spreaders, so that's always a good thing. And it also has a CAS of 16. As for the 16 gigabytes, it's pretty much the same, only the CAS is 15, and it does not have heat spreaders. For storage, none of you will be surprised. The hard drive will be the Western Digital Caviar Blue 1 terabyte 3.5 inches 7,200 RPM at only $50. Talk about the best hard drive on the market. So I see some people who really don't think about what they're doing, and they go for a Seagate Barracuda 2 terabyte or 3 terabyte for only $90. As beautiful and as amazing as it sounds, it isn't worth it. And for someone who does research, they will agree with me too. In case you aren't aware, it has been said that the 3 terabyte and the 2 terabyte have extremely unbelievable fail rates. And as some people have said that it might be false, I don't think risking losing 3 terabytes of information is worth it, considering most of us are good with 1 terabyte. Anyways, for the SSD, the clear winner was the Samsung 850 EVO series 250GB 2.5-inch SSD, coming at around a price of $85. Samsung has always managed to impress me when it comes to SSDs, and the 250GB was more than what was worth being offered. It was such an easy decision to pick something as glorious as this. Plus, the read and write speed, it comes in at 540 megabytes a second read for max and 520 megabytes a second for write max. And for $85, that's a heck of a bang for buck. Next, we have the graphics card, and this one was very easy, and that is the MSI GTX 980 Ti Gaming 6G at $659. Probably one of the cheapest 980 Ti's you can get, and it's actually one of the best in terms of performance for bang for buck. For a cheaper option and similar performance to other custom cards, it's definitely a card to go for. It has 2 fans for better cooling than the reference card, and comes in at a core clock of 1.18 gigahertz. Its max power consumption is of 250 watts and has a whopping 6 gigabytes of VRAM. Supports up to 4-way SLI, has a length of 11.10 inches or 282 millimeters, supports G-Sync, and has 1 DVI dual link, 3 display ports, and 1 HDMI port. Finally, its interface is PCI Express X16. The case was extremely simple as well, and for that it's the Corsair 200R ATX mid-tower case at $50. This case is probably the best on the market. It has amazing airflow and space, as the dimensions are 19.57 inches by 827 by 16.89. And as for the graphic card's length, it has an amazing 430 millimeters without drive cages and 300 millimeters width. This is actually plenty of space for the 980 Ti, as the length is 282 millimeters. As for how many drives you can put, it has 3.3 5.25 inch, 4 2.5 inch, and 4 3.5 inch bays. Now, there are a few downsides to the case, but then again, it's only $50, and the fact that it is the fact that the case lacks inserts for cable management and lacks premium features. Other than that, this case is perfect for a build like this. As for a power supply, I went with the CX 600 watt 80 plus bronze certified semi-modular power supply. This one is great, obviously, because it comes in at only $45. However, since the total wattage in this build it contains 462 watts, and the max graphics card wattage is 250, you probably won't be able to have SLI with the 980 Ti unless you upgrade the power supply. Your best bet would be to go with the 750 watt, but that goes beyond our budget. And if you were going to SLI in the future, you would only need to upgrade the power supply. So, as for specifications, it contains one fan and two PCI Express 6+2 pin connectors. As for optical drive and operating system, I pretty much went with the cheapest optical drive, considering that we only need it to install the OS on it, and it doesn't matter a whole lot with what you go with. As for the operating system, I went with the cheapest version of Windows 10, considering, well, it's just an operating system, so, and then the same version of each is pretty much exactly the same. Not a huge surprise. Finally, the monitor. I know a lot of you think that I would be going with the Asus PB2278Q, which I will admit that would be an optimal choice. However, I was looking through the monitors trying to see if there was any monitors at all that were lower in price, and I actually found one, and that is the Acer G257HU SmidPix, as I like to say, monitor. And it's 1440p, just like the PB278. God dang, I'm just gonna call it Asus. But surprisingly, the Acer was almost exactly the same as the Asus for almost $100 less, at only $260. Sure, the Acer has its disadvantages, such as how the stand is quite wobbly and there's no VESA mount or adjustments options, and that it is 2 inches smaller than the Asus. But it has the same features, such as IPS, 60 Hz, and even actually has a better response time than the Asus at 4 milliseconds, unlike the Asus, which has 5 milliseconds, which, has a lot of difference. You know, you're really going to notice it. You're probably not going to notice it, but hey, knowing that you have a 1 millisecond response time advantage in a game, I guess that's worth it. In terms of the monitor size, it's actually not that noticeable. 25 inches is still very good to play on, and making this a lot more bang for the buck. If you had a lot more money to spare, I highly recommend the ROG Swift, which is probably one of the best monitors out there, but it's like $700, so I probably wouldn't go for that unless you had enough money. So anyways, guys, that about wraps it up for this build. If you find something better along the way, make sure to leave a comment below, and if I get enough suggestions, I will make a revamped build guide with your suggested parts, and I will make sure to shout you guys out for your suggestions. But anyways, guys, with that out of the way, I will see you all in my next video. Peace.